Hey everyone. Uh Welcome to the second video of my Ties of the Cosmos series, where I discuss my tabletop RPG that I've created over the summer of 2020, the year of 2020, the summer of 2020, I guess you could say, into the fall. And the first thing I wanted to talk about before we get started with anything is I wanted to express my appreciation for all of you who have watched this video and watched the previous video. I can't thank you enough. It's so nice being able to express my passion for game design, with writing, and with just creating things in general with you all. It's really been a pleasure interacting with you all and seeing your interest with your subscriptions and your views. I really do appreciate it. And all that you do. So, first things first, after the first things first that we already discussed, is we're going to be talking about how to create your character today. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, and this will be the first video in the Create Your Character series, is your peoples and your race. So in the Tides of the Cosmos, you have different peoples, which basically function as races in other tabletop RPGs and fantasy worlds, such as your typical elves, your typical dwarves, your typical gnomes, your typical humans, things like that. I designed these as peoples, so these are people that cannot interbreed with one another. So, for example, a human cannot breed with a dwarf, as they are different species, almost, in my universe. So that's why they're called peoples instead of races, because in other things like Dungeons and Dragons, and I think even Lord of the Rings, there are things as half-elves and things of that nature. As of now, there are no such thing, so they will remain as peoples for the time being. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about peoples today. So, the first thing you want to do when creating your character in Tides of the Cosmos is seeing what kind of peoples and race you would want to be. So, in Tides of the Cosmos, you have your main race, which are the humans. Basically, the humans in this world were slaves of the Sindarthan Empire before Typhoron conquered all of Tor and founded Ys Moria, which is basically the hub for all humans. They're mainly a very, very high population. Centered population is in central Ys Moria right now. As that is their, in quotations, homeland that they've settled in, which was a previously uninhabited land. But that's humans, and like I said, the cool thing about this tabletop RPG is that there are different like races that you can have, just as there are races in our world. There are races with humans, so you can choose the Falaki. A race of humans who mostly dwell in the plains of Tor. They are prominent hunters and farmers on the land, and many worship Lerna and Vum for fertile soil, as well as Charon, the god of labor, for strength for their tasks. They are very spiritual people who believe if they do good work, treat people kindly, and treat the elements with care, then that is pure happiness. Again, there will be some typos. They are very appreciative of their oral art and storytelling, as well as music and painting. They are very hesitant to leave their home due to their simple but comfortable life. They have a tan complexion with brown, black, or red curly hair, and mostly green or brown eyes. Now, I want to specify that most of these race descriptions can change. There are obviously not set race descriptions, but these are what most of the Falaki, for example, look like. And practice in their culture. Again, many different tribes, many different clans operate in a different manner, but this is for the most part. So keep that in mind. So another cool thing about making your race and peoples in the Tides of the Cosmos is that you get a certain buff and a certain specialty unique to every race and people. Some will kind of repeat. As you'll see with like things that go to charisma, some things that go to perception. You'll see that. And you'll also notice that in the buffs that there are no negatives. I want your negatives to be unique as your own character. So your negatives are basically in this world represented by your lack of modifiers in that certain thing. So, for example, if you're not good with charisma, your modifier in charisma won't be good, or your modifier in perception won't be good. That's basically how it is. The need for negative is kind of a very generalized thing that I sought to, and currently seek to avoid in my game design. But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. So the Falaki buffs, you get +2 to charisma and +2 to perception. These are not, I should have specified earlier, these are not your modifiers. These are actually upgrades to your base stats in total. So say you roll, if we're doing a D20 system with rolling your stats, say you roll a 10 in charisma, right? You get 12 now if you're Falaki. Or if you roll a 10 in perception, you get 11 now. So it's really cool in the fact that this affects your base stats as well as your normal stats. Now, I also should note on top of this that as of the pre-alpha, you can choose not to have the buffs given to you. Instead, you can have a +2 into any talent that you want. That's how this will work. You don't have to accept the buff that it gives you. Again, these buffs are related to the main culture of what like race you're a part of. And then their specialty, which is also unique. Think of it as either a spell or a unique buff to either a modifier or a vital stat. So this specialty is a Tale of Lore. Before resting, tell a tale and gain 1d4 ACC next battle before your rest. So what that basically entails is that before you have a short or long rest, your next battle, you can have an increase of 1d4 accuracy, depending on how I designed it, how good your tale is. So that's Falaki. Aristoc is the second. I really love the Aristoc. There's a famous Aristoc named Primus Cadmail, who you might see, in this description. But anyways, I'll read it off to you. A race of humans who were one of the first inhabitants of the plains of Thornad, which is on the western side of the mainlands, I should specify. After many humans escaped from the Siddharthan Empire's cruel slavery, many of the travelers settled in Aristoc. It was not until Primus Cadmail's founding of Aristoc that it became a country of its own. The Aristoc people typically enjoy hearty meals, stiff drinks, and roughhousing. Every year, they partake in great athletic matches to show their brawn, and for those who cannot engage in harsh physical sport, there are other competitions like eating contests, poetry readings, and song competitions. The Aristoc are typically very competitive, but know how to win and lose with pride. The Aristoc have a paler complexion with splotches of tanner skin on their face, and typically have blonde, brown, or orange hair. They also typically have blue, brown, or grayish-blue eyes. The Aristoc bonus is a +2 in strength, charisma, or dexterity. So you have 3 choices in the normal bonus. Or you could just reject that entirely and get +2 in any of the talents. I would, or vital stats, I would encourage that you would use, unless you're not working in the Tides of the Cosmos universe, which is absolutely fine. But if you are going to be inhabiting the Tides of the Cosmos universe and using the map that I've created, I would highly recommend using these bonuses because it adds a certain balance to the game that I think you would really enjoy. And it also serves the lore very well, unless you wanted to build a character that completely defies the lore, which is also great. But for a very lore-friendly campaign, I would highly advise you to try and stick with the bonuses and specialties that I've outlined here. So their specialty is Fighting Spirit. Use once until fully rested. Raise ACC by +4 on a single combat roll, which is pretty good. So once you're fully rested, which means after a full rest, you gain an ACC on any single combat roll until you're fully rested again. So say you get a roll and you really, really want it to hit and it misses, and you missed it by, say, 2 accuracy or 2 DC, right? You can use this and you can get a better chance to hit, which I think is pretty cool. Also fits the lore. So then we go to Arcassians. Arcassians often dwell in the magic land of Arcassia, where the first magics were bestowed upon the mortals of Tor. After the Dranaic War, Arcassia drifted into the ocean, carried on the back of Delisandra, the dragon of the seas, and a sea serpent spawn. From there, all races learned magic, and favoritism by Zexion was given to the humans of the Drifted Continent, as they were humble with their acceptance of magic, while the Elve were not, and were granted lesser sorceries. The people of Arcasia are now ruled by the Great Magi, who, instead of ruling by birthright or by voting, are appointed due to their magical skill, and are ousted if tyrannical or power-hungry. The motive of the nation is to devote time to learning different magics across Tor and to spread it across the mainlands, which should be capitalized, but that's fine. Which have over thousands of years. The Arcasians have an arrangement of complexions, but are all have pronounced noses and curly black, blonde, or brown hair, and have slimmer eyes. So, Arcasians are very heavy magic users who live in the land of Arcasia, which is to the west of the mainlands. Not inside of the mainlands, it's in its own continent. Very wise people, very magically inclined people. It's a land filled with magical fairy-type creatures, magical drakes, things of that nature. Think of it as a very high fantasy continent that don't really dwell in the practices and wars of the mainlands. So the Arcasian bonus is +2 to wisdom and +1 to any talent. Pretty good. And then the Arcasian specialty is Shield of the Magi, resistant to all arcane magic damage. So resistance in this game means that you roll, the enemy that is going to attack you rolls disadvantage to attack or to hit you, which is very good. Arcane magic damage, if played in the correct, not in the correct, but played in a specific campaign, can be very, very, very good. Next, we go to the Yawar, humans who migrated into the Scotian woodlands, who are very in tune with alchemy, combat, and hunting. The Yawar are spread all across the Scotian woodlands, but mostly live in Farsia, South Evenus, and are quite populous in Terranwood. Most of their cultural, religious, and medicinal ways of living are adopted from the Colossi of the mainlands, but are different in practice. Many Yawar believe that Vun and Inyoldir are champions of the world, as balance in the elements and justice to those who were wrongdoers, doesn't really make sense, were the most important ideas of society. Basically, very high justice complex. Those who do wrong definitely receive some sort of karma or justice at the end. Tyria, in some areas, is the prime deity they worship, as light to them embodies all that is good and plentiful. Many Yawar are traders, hunters, or mercenaries who leave their villages or areas of living at 20 as a rite of passage. As they move, they seek to become masters in their centered field to achieve the greatest amount of experience before their ascension into Arun. Many Yawar, or most Yawar, are ruled by an elder of either gender. Should be either sex. You can see some problems already in the pre-alpha thing. But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. Whereas the military force is comprised of mostly women. Many Yawar have different skin colors, ranging from pale to very dark, but many have black, brown, or gray hair and green or brown eyes. Many men wear long hair and facial hair if they are high in age, whereas many women have short hair or are shaved. Have shaved heads. Again, let me reiterate. Lots of problems in this. Definitely a supporter of trans rights, so don't get it twisted. So anyways, Yawar bonus is +2 to any talent, and +1 to any vital stat. So a talent in this game is what your skills are. In like things like D&D. So that's really good, and then you get +1 to any vital stats, so that's also very good. This is because the Yawar are so diverse in their occupational paths and their migration across Tor. And their specialty, which is also a bonus. Again, I'm telling you, there are going to be so many issues here. But it just shows you the magic of that is TTRPG designing. Blessing of Elders. Every 5 levels add an additional point to any talent of your choosing. Very good thing. Say you want some acrobatics, every 5 levels you get some acrobatics. Very, very, very good specialty. Not bonus. Second to last, we have the Had Halim. The race of humans who have lived in Enyaki for thousands of years. These humans were one of the first to ever establish themselves outside of the Sindarthan Empire. After the Sindarthan Empire came to power and began to enslave the Tyrian races of Tor, the Had Halim stood their ground over the rule of the Doketh Hashchalit Kura, who united the Enya, Dak, and Dustborn to fight against their fairish overlords. The Sindarthan Empire lost, and thus the Khadkhalim and the other peoples of the Enya were to remain untouched. The Khadkhalim now reside over the scorching wastes and many oases. The city of Al-Rokad, excuse me, I can't even pronounce my own fantasy names. Al-Rokad serves as the Khadkhalim capital, with small villages surrounding the city. Their culture is full of vibrant practices, with their main deities of worship being Tyria and Yoldir, Lena, and Ballora. They wear stunning clothing with vibrant colors and spectacular jewelry. They are very keen warriors, merchants, and clerics, but there are many writers and actors. But there are many writers and actors are known across the world. Fantastic. Many Khadkhalim have tan to dark skin, braided and dreaded hair with ornaments on the nose, ears, and hair, with brown, black, or red hair. The Khadkhalim bonus is +1 to all vital stats. Very, very good. One of the best, I would say. That's just because there are just so many things that the Khadkhalim do in their practices, in their cultures, that they have in their clans and their tribes. The Khadkhalim specialty, the Honor of the Sands. Once per day, raise you or your allies' ACC by half of your level, rounding down. That so 1 would be 1, 3 would be 1, 5 would be 2, and so on. I love the Khadkhalim Khashalam Kura, which is one of the very, very famous Khadkhalim to ever come on the mainlands. It's one of my favorite characters I've ever designed. And pardon me if I have problems talking or saying my own names. I studied Farsi for about 3 years, so I'm very, very rusty on my certain phonetic sounds. But trust me, I've done them. So the last one that we're going to be talking about is the Ismorian. These humans were the first to inhabit the area of central Ismoria in nomadic groups when the freeing of the Tyrian peoples began. These people are split into 2 groups, the Thundavar and the Shurelians. The early Thundavar people never stayed in one spot and moved wherever the animals went, camping across the mainlands and failing to find a home. It was not until many Thundavar tribes began to speak of legends pertaining to one of their own descending from Arun and establishing a home on their land. When Typharon united the Thundavar people together, the Thundavar were overjoyed. It was not until the unification of Ismoria as a central power that the Thundavar began to split. Many Thundavar rejected the idea of uniting all main nations into one state, and many others wanted the union to benefit from a larger government and larger economy. Thus, the Thundavar split, and the Shurelians, under Ezekiel Shurelia's rejection of the Thundavar's dispute of the unification of lands, became a reality. The Thundavar people are mainly simpler folk, usually relegating themselves to a job involving farming, smithing, carpentry, and military service, while Shurelians pride themselves on being scholars, merchants, poets, and diplomats. Both factions are very present in the Efnir along the political factions to bring about change to Ismoria as a whole, or to secede entirely. Thundavar and Shurelians have mainly a fawn tint and green, blue, or hazel eyes. They are mainly blonde or brown hair as well. So think of these Morians as basically a group of people who are separated by a faction. One focusing on the old ways of the Ismorian, and the other developing. The others are support of a more developing society, one that's more accepting. So the buffs to these Morian is +3 to any vital stat, -2 to any vital stat. So this is important because I wanted there to be a very high plus, but I wanted there to be a negative as well in this race in particular, because there's a faction separation. So I wanted there to be like a good side, and then I wanted there to be a side that you don't agree with, whether it be the Shurelians or the Ismorians. The Ismorian choice is their specialty. So add 3 points to a talent of your choice, or add 2 + 2 points to a combat modifier of your choice. Also very good. Might have to change these now that I'm reading them very close, but you get the idea. So that's it for the humans. Next time, we're going to be talking about the Lyrda and possibly the gnomes as well. So I hope that gave you an idea of the humans of this world. I'm trying really, really, really hard to create peoples who can, and races that people can identify with. So in the comments, if there's a group of people who you either A, think are too similar to a group in the real world, or B, think should be included in this, let me know. I'm open to ideas and criticism. I'm not just going to sit here on my pedestal and say, oh, nothing's wrong. Definitely things that need to be fixed. And I would really love your input, whether it be positive or negative. It doesn't matter to me. I want to make this the best TTRPG that I could possibly make it. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the full screen. I didn't enjoy the mistakes that I made, but that goes with making your second video ever on a computer. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more Ties of the Cosmos updates and Neon Knights updates in the future as well. Leave a like if you liked the video, thumbs it down if you didn't, I guess. Also, leave a comment with what I said, whether it be positive or negative criticism. I would love, not positive criticism, just positive things or negative things to say. It doesn't matter. I need criticism or your support. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'll see you guys next week, and hope your quarantine is going well, going smooth. Yeah, see you next time. Bye.